I want to start this video by asking you a question. What's one thing, if you truly sat down, focused on it, and accomplished it right now, would make a significant improvement to your life? The reality is there's probably a few things in your mind if you think about this question. For me personally, one idea I have for myself is physical fitness. Now, whatever answers you just chose probably fall under the Quadrant 2 section of your life. And just imagine your life for a second divided up into 4 different quadrants, and everything you do in life falls under one of these quadrants. Everything on the left side here are urgent tasks. These are things you have to do very quickly or very soon due to a time commitment. And also, if you divide the graph the other way, everything on the top is important stuff. Everything on the bottom is not important stuff. So everything we just talked about is in Quadrant 2. But let's talk about 1, 3, and 4. Most of the stuff that we do in life falls under Quadrant 3. And this is the stuff that technically is urgent because of a time commitment of some sort, but is most definitely not important. Some examples of Quadrant 3 activities here are responding to emails, taking phone calls, or video meetings. Honestly, they're priorities of other people around you that are disguised as important things for you, but in reality, they aren't as important as other things in our life. These are definitely urgent things because they're in our face, happening right here, right now, like a phone call, but they're not necessarily important. But with that being said, there's definitely things in life that are both urgent and important. Things like family emergencies, a work crisis, planning for a last minute meeting that's coming up. These are all things that are both important and urgent, and these all fall under Quadrant 1. And then of course we have things in Quadrant 4. Quadrant 4 is anything that's not important or urgent. So things like browsing social media, maybe on Instagram, or binge watching a show on Netflix. These are things that we just do to kill time and could really make an impact on us if we don't control how much time we spend in this quadrant. So now we're left with Quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is the area of life that we really should be focusing on the most. These are things that are definitely important, but they're not urgent, so you don't feel compelled to work on them because there's no urgency behind them. So going back to my examples from earlier in the video, physical fitness is definitely something I should be doing. It's important for my health, but there's no urgency behind it. There's no urgency for me to be doing it right this second, right now. I can definitely wait a day, a week, a month, and nothing would change. Now imagine the transformation we would all go through if all of us spent the majority of our time focusing on Quadrant 2 activities of life. Just imagine how much of an impact that would make on your personal life. Spending time in Quadrant 2 is actually something that's proactive, whereas everything else we talked about, the other urgent stuff, is all reactive. If we spend time in Quadrant 2, we're going to prevent a lot of the urgent tasks from coming up in the first place. Let me give you a couple other examples that might resonate with you for Quadrant 2 activities. The first one being is building relationships. And when I say this, I don't mean finding a life partner. What I'm talking about is actually building and making sure the existing relationships you have in your life are healthy. So things like your family, your friends, your work coworkers, anyone in your life that you interact with, ensuring that you're building and keeping those relationships healthy and intact. Just think about that for a second. What kind of impact would that have if you spent just a little bit of extra time focusing on the relationship aspect of your coworkers at work? Getting to know them a little bit, knowing their families, and just making sure you have that connection with them. That would probably make you a lot more productive as a team, and on top of that, you're building a lot of trust with these coworkers. So that one little investment of time in building a relationship, definitely not urgent by any means, but super important. And this goes beyond work. If you're also keeping in touch with friends who you don't talk to very regularly, same thing with family members, anything like that, just making sure you're building relationships and keeping them healthy all the way around so you have that network of supportive relationships in your life. Another example of a Quadrant 2 activity is just truly finding what your passions are. And for me personally, this year, I discovered one of my biggest passions is for reading. And because of this, it's carried over to so many other aspects of my life. Because I read regularly now, I have a great way of decompressing at night at the end of the day. Then on top of that, I have a way of stepping back during the day to just take a step back from my work and not focus too much on what's going on with the urgent stuff happening in life. And I've also learned so much from the books I've read, and that's made a big impact on my productivity during my work. So that one passion has made a huge impact on my life. Definitely not something that's urgent again, but reading to me is really important. So to quickly recap here, everything you do in life falls under one of these 4 quadrants. And the ones that we want to focus on the most should be in Quadrant 2. Things that are not urgent but are super important. Now, if you enjoy learning about Quadrant 2 activities of life, you'll definitely enjoy reading the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Everything I talked about in this video is from this book, and you'll learn a lot more about Quadrant 2 stuff, but also a bunch of other stuff in this book as well. This book I read earlier this year, and it's changed my life in the way I approach everything I do. So I want to recommend that. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. I post new videos every single week, and I'll see you guys next time.